Okay, so I put together this CFA on test anxiety using Saracen's test anxiety scale that out of University of Washington that he developed, and it's been around for like 50 years. It's been validated by different studies, and numerous other researchers have used it in their own research, trying to study anxiety. Um, in the test anxiety scale, there's four subscales. There's worry, test irrelevant thoughts, tension, bodily symptoms, and did I say is that four? Worry, test irrelevant thoughts, tension, and bodily symptoms. Yeah, those are the four, and those contribute to test anxiety. Um, what we found in the model that we ran is that it's predictive of cheating behavior given certain continuous cheating questions. It'd be interesting to go further into depth. What I'm doing right now is talking with Dr. Nicole Noble from the Counseling Center. She's a lead counseling psychologist here, and she has dealt with students who have had test anxiety, and I'm going to ask her some questions about those students, and we'll go from there. So, in your experience, do you think that you've had students that have come in here with test anxiety, just in general?
Absolutely. I would say the vast majority of my experience in the school setting was with test anxiety.
Okay.
So they were often concerned about passing the STAR test so that they could go on to the next grade level, or just in general testing. And then also in my role here at the Career Center, we also work with PADR students, which are the students put on academic probation due to lower grades in classes. And the goal is to get their grades up before they fail out of college. So absolutely, there's tons of test anxiety surrounding that.
Okay. And so when these students come in, do they have, can you see it on their face? I mean, are they visibly showing bodily symptoms of being worried and being tense about the pressure that's associated with these types of tests? Or
Absolutely. I would say their nonverbal behavior definitely indicates it. Sometimes they'll even be crying. I've had some students who are under so much pressure and stress that they'll be very obvious and want to talk about it and show it very immediately, or they'll be fidgeting or doing the normal nervous types of behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Wow. In your experience, you don't have students really talking about cheating or anything?
So, no. In my experience, if they're talking about cheating, it's about somebody else cheating,
Okay.
And not about themselves as much. And I don't think that they feel comfortable divulging that on their own, unless they've. I have spoken with students who are applying for jobs and they have had a mishap in the future, some type of plagiarism or cheating, and they're wondering how to describe that to an employer in a way that they can still get hired and not have them question their ethics. But that's kind of after the fact typically. I think if it's before the fact of cheating, they're not going to divulge that to me, or they're much less likely to.
Fair enough. And when they come and talk about anxiety from these high stakes tests or just tests in general, do they talk about the feelings going in before the test, or do they talk about the feelings that they have during the test?
Absolutely.
Does it differ between
before and after? I would say it's fairly similar. Maybe during they're talking about their body and their heart rate getting really elevated. Sometimes they'll even talk about almost like not even remembering what happened during that time period because they were so emotionally tested. But then also if they're talking about it like before, they'll talk about like in general, like they have fears about math. And so when they even at like when the math class begins, like the first day, their thoughts going into the class are like, I'm not going to be good at this, I'm not going to be able to learn it, and very negative just because of their previous experiences with math.
So do you think that there's some sort of post-traumatic stress there? I mean,
I think there definitely can be for some students.
It's not diagnosed, though. It's not like test
Right.
anxiety is something that's in the DSM.
Right. It would just be like generalized
Okay.
anxiety, or maybe anxiety brought on by a specific event.
Okay.
But no, unfortunately,
Huh.
there's not.
Do they ever talk about their past experiences, like in grade school and high school, with bad tests?
Absolutely, they'll bring up past experiences and the repetitive nature of it for them, and whatever the subject is they're really concerned about.
Cool. And do they talk about like SAT, ACT, these types of high stakes tests? Or?
Absolutely, LSAT, MCAT, and they'll also talk about once they found out about the score, because that's usually with those there's like the delay, or with some of those there's a delay in when they find out about how they did, and that also is like a very impactful emotional event for them, so they remember it.
Do you find whenever they come in, do they ever start talking about the culture that we live in with regard to testing, and how that's like this external factor of this willingness to put all of our effort and motivation into developing these high stakes tests? Do you feel like they are aware of that, or do you think that they think that that's kind of an insurmountable thing to tackle or even talk about?
The